Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so Netzach. So Netzach is eternity and victory, like we said. And Netzach is connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. Netzach is the fifth Sphira, and it's identified with Moshe. In general, if you want to like take this whole Sphirot idea and implement it or integrate it into your life on a on a deeper level, not only on Sfirat Omer, so you can do it with every day of the week. You can look at the different Sphira. You can do Sunday Chesed, Monday Gvura, etc. And also same thing with Sukkot and Hanukkah and Pesach, right? You can also take it and divide it into Sukkot is easy because we have Dush Bizin. And every
It's a daily meditation that
right.
you set aside, and you create a daily meditation for you to sit down for 10 minutes
Right.
or whatever it is and say,
and
okay,
see where is my chesed, where is my
I'm
gruva.
talking to you.
Right. And no, and not only that, like not only that I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to you about my chesed, and the next day I'm talking to you about my gvura, and I'm checking in with myself. Where am I on the chesed level? Where am I in the chesed gvura? And then you can also like do like you do in Sfirat Omer. On Sunday you could do chesed shebechesed, gvura shebechesed, tiferet shebechesed, etc., etc. And on Monday you can do all the gvura chesed, and etc., etc. So you can integrate it into your life on a much deeper level. So you don't just. I always feel with Sfirat Omer that it's over too soon. So like from year to year, I'm trying to integrate it into my life on a deeper level, and to look at it during the year as much as I can, whether it's through the holidays or even within the weeks. I can't say that I'm doing it all the time, but I'm really trying to put it into my life in a more active way. So because really it's about this is who I am. Chesed Gevur Tiferet Netzach Od Yesod Malchut is basically who I am, how I operate in the world, how I come through to people, how I project myself to people, and how I receive people into my heart, right? By the way, the word, chesed, I forgot to say when we spoke about it, but it's like chas, the word chesed is chas and dalet. The chas is compassion, lachus is to be compassionate, and dalet represents the word dalut, which is poverty. So we don't do chesed, like you could be a multimillionaire giving multi-millions to charity, but you don't have the compassion. You're giving it like maybe you have somebody there who's even working for you. You have a whole chesed department because you're all so rich, and you have somebody who's giving tzedakah on your behalf, millions and millions of dollars, right? But it doesn't mean that you're have chesed in your heart.
You're not doing
You're
it.
not turning on your chesed, right? When you come across the street by a poor person, you're like, oh, like you should go and get a job, right? And anyway, I'm giving millions, I already give millions, so why do I need to give you? You are just a bummer, So you don't have chesed. It doesn't matter how many millions you gave, right? The idea is to really wake up the chesed inside my heart. Do I have it inside my heart? So all these attributes need to be looked at. How do I have them inside my heart? So if we look at Netzach, so Netzach, first of all, represents my eternal connection with Hashem. So number one, it's am I on good terms with Hashem? Only when we're on good terms. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Right? Like, are we, am I in a relationship with Hashem only when things work my way? Right? Or do I also...
Only when it's very bad.
Or the opposite could be when it's very bad. That's a very good way. That's very important to add, right? Is my relationship eternal, and I would say constant with Hashem, right? So it's like I need to notice, when do I, all of a sudden remember to do an extra mitzvah, or when do I all of a sudden remember to daven extra with kavana? Is it a part of my constant improving my life, improving who I am? improving my connection with Hashem all the time. And the same goes for me and my spouse, and me and my children, and me and the world, right? Am I only being nice to people, when I want to get something out of them? Or am I only being nice to people when, I want Hashem to be nice to me? Right? Like, what kind of a relationship do I have? Where to notice my continuous climbing on the ladder, right? Talking of Yitzchak, of Yaakov, sorry. Yeah. Climbing the ladder, right? Continuously. Not just, when it suits me or when I'm in great pain, etc. When
That's
I'm
the
when I'm
essence.
in need or when I'm in a good mood.
That's the essence of learning. That's why we as Jews choose to learn, because we choose to learn to elevate the neshama, to be more in connection to ourselves and Hashem.
Right.
Or
And the
we sit
environment.
and do nothing.
And with people. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Hmm?
Sometimes more,
Boy,
sometimes
that's
less.
a good question.
Hold it. It
But you
works.
can look at
Sometimes it takes more
That's a
time
good
than
question, but you can look at it.
Sometimes more and sometimes less. Yeah. Yeah.
Boy,
It's
So,
also helpful when you can recognize people that you're interacting with, where they're coming from. Are they more Gevurah? Are they more Chesed? How can you approach them and interact with them? Some people are almost always Gevurah. And you wonder, why can't I, interact with that person?
bitterness is not Gevurah. Somebody who's always Gevurah is just a bitter person. And bitterness is not Gevurah.
Why is it?
Gevurah is not
Oh,
bitterness.
No,
No.
it's restricted.
So if somebody's always Gevurah, it's more a bitter person than a Gevurah person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's an extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Somebody Gevurah, it's supposed to be a holy action also.
Okay.
Because it's either driving me to do more, right? A koveshet yitzro, the one who conquers their inclination. So it either conquers my inclination to do more or conquers my inclination from doing bad.
Mhm.
It's not about not doing.
Okay.
Hashem sometimes gives sun and sometimes gives rain and sometimes gives snow. Snow is also very healthy to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the ground when it's snowing, or even when it's super raining, you think that the world is being destructed. But also with our natural eyes, right? When you look at sun and it's being too hot, you might think that the world is also burning, right? What makes both or all three of them, sun, rain, and snow, healthy to the world? The balance between them, right? Tiferet, exactly. But we don't say to God, you hate us, right? God forbid, because you gave us snow now, or because you gave us too much rain, right? Or even though it's not so much fun to go outside when it's raining, or I mean, maybe for some people, or when it's snowing. For most of us, we want a balanced weather, right? So we also have to look at our behavior with each other from that perspective also. We sometimes give more warmth and sometimes we give a more, maybe a colder environment, but it doesn't mean that we need to be cold. It means that we need to balance our coldness. We need to balance our coldness, right? Sometimes it's easier for us to be a colder person, but it's not necessarily means that that's what we need to do.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Most probably we need to add some sun, and the gevurah that we need to have in that moment is by adding more sun.
chesed.
Right.
So that's my point. And it's all an interplay.
Yeah, it's an interplay. But somebody who's Gevura all the time, I can't imagine how that is not bitterness.
So my myself, when I entered into my second marriage, I acquired 3 more children because she already had 3 children. And I so wanted to be their father figure because the father figure they had previously, well, was evidently a throwaway personality because she threw him away. So I thought that it was my job to teach what hadn't been taught. And so I found myself, and it took years to change this. After years of not noticing what I was doing, when I taught and I told and I explained how this thing is better than that thing, this thing is better than that thing, it's like, do it like this, not like that. Yes, no, Gevura, severity. And I was pretty much in that mode because I wanted to prove I could be, dad type. And now I've been 10 years out of relationship, but I should have known better, and I didn't. But I went into it in Gevura. I spent years in that kind of mode, not with Rivka, but with the children. And I really struggled once I recognized it to come out of it. Once it was brought to my attention, really, so I could understand it, it doesn't have to be bitter. I wasn't bitter. I was like strict.
But we're talking number one with
not
ourselves.
in what I allow a child to do, but in what I wanted
right.
them to think.
But when I'm saying somehow, whenever I talk about Gevura, now it came to my understanding that whenever I talk about Gevura, somehow the conversation always goes to me being Gevura with other people.
That's what I think.
But I'm not talking about
them.
that. Number one is how am I being Gevura with myself? That's what matters.
Back missed again.
The whole essence.
Got it?
The whole essence of counseling, right, is not the philosophy of what we're doing. What am I doing to myself? What am I doing to myself?
What am I learning in this relationship?
It's me. I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. Not they.
Right. Whatever situation they bring, first of all, don't be so bad. Don't be so harsh on yourself, because it's hard enough to raise your own children, let alone other people's children when you enter a marriage like that. So, yeah, but so just have some softness on yourself.
Gevura, as we're looking at it, is internal.
Yes.
Number one.
Rather than external.
Number one. Yeah.
How am I bettering myself?
Scratch my, I'm
No.
going to redact the story now.
Right.
Okay.
Now, it comes through also through my behavior with people. I realize things about myself as I interact with people, right?
We have to change ourselves first before we can
change
other people.
I don't know if before simultaneously, but yeah. But the most of the Gevura needs to be used to look at myself.
You have to correct yourself first.
Hakoveshet yitzro, right? Not the yetzer of Chavero.
Right.
We have no mitzvah to conquer somebody else's inclination. We have a obligation to conquer our own.
And it's always easier to conquer somebody else's
Right.
No, or
your
to at
opinion.
least
In your
tell
opinion,
them.
to
Tell
conquer
them
somebody,
how, yeah.
yes,
Right.
it's harder to look inside.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Well,
also,
that I know.
also, John, it's the first time you were in that kind of situation.
Maybe
It's
the
like
last.
there's no guidebook that says, okay,
Right.
when you're marrying
There's
into
no
a
Did you
guidebook
have
for
children
anything.
in
It
your
has to
first
do with-
marriage?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm 50s, you're 70s, you know, what did we know when we were 30s? You know, like
Nothing.
Yeah.
nothing,
Or 20s.
right? It's like
Nothing.
I look at my 2020-year-olds and they think they know everything.
I know.
Absolutely.
And I realized I thought I knew
That's
everything
what I was.
also, right?
Boy.
It takes you a lifetime to understand that you know nothing.
Yeah.
And that there's so much to learn and so much to grow. So it really brings a sort of going back to chesed, it gives you the compassion over yourself.
So
Right?
that
And not to be so
may
harsh on
be
yourself.
part of why they say that we need to be a certain age before we can begin to study Kabbalah, because you need to get to the age where you begin to realize you don't know so much.
Right.
So you can actually find something
I
that you
think
didn't think.
I think that the answer that comes up to me now as you said it is that we need to first do blindly the mitzvahs of the Torah
Mhm.
because it will take us years to analyze our relationship with Hashem and our relationship with human beings,
Right.
right? So we first do blindly everything, Nasev and Nishma. We'll do, and then we will learn and hear,
Right. And then we will,
right?
we will do and we will.
But in our age, that's why so many rabbis say in our age, it is time for us, and it started with the Baal Shem Tov who said that the awe, the yira of the Nase is very much about yira, right? You're told you do, right? Why did you do it in our times, in our day, in our age? It doesn't work with our children, but in our times,
Right.
if our parents said something, nobody thought I didn't dare to, what's it called, contradict my mom, even when towards the end of her age, when I was in my late 40s, right? In our days, a 5-year-old contradicts their parents,
Yeah, boy, isn't that the truth?
right?
Or they can.
They can.
Yeah.
So it's like we're living in a totally different time. And I think this is why the Baal Shem Tov had told us already 300 years ago that this time will come, and this time has come, that we're not psychologically wired to just do the Nase. We need the Nishma a little bit so that we can understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Right. It doesn't work just the Nase.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool
Okay,
conversation here.